Good evening, and welcome to the 2020 Annual Meeting and Celebration of the Community Foundation for Crawford County. I'm Lisa Workman, the Foundation's president. I'm coming to you live tonight from our friends at Ohio Mutual in the recording studio behind their office in Bucyrus, Ohio. The other presenters you'll see this evening have already been pre-recorded by Ohio Mutual. We want to start by giving kudos and thanks to those that deserve it. And let's start with Ohio Mutual. When they found out that we were going viral for this year's annual meeting for our first time, and needless to say, we're a little panicked, they stepped right in to help us. And for the last 2 weeks have been piecing together the recordings, rehearsing with us, and now here they are working after hours. So next time you see your friends at Ohio Mutual, please give them our thanks, and let's give them a round of applause virtually. Also tonight, I would like to thank Amy Vaughn, our program and office manager, who many of you know, who continues to take on the growth of the foundation and particularly our ever-growing scholarship program and all that entails. And if you would refer, most of you by now have received the 2019 Gratitude Report, our version of an annual report. And another group of people I would like to thank, if you flip over the cover of that report, those 12 individuals right there, that was our Board of Trustees in 2019. In 2019, we did strategic planning, which Ohio Mutual also helped us with. And that meant many more hours of meetings for our Board of Directors. And then in 2020, the COVID pandemic hit. So we turned our normal grant process into a COVID-19 emergency grant response process. That meant every time applications came in, our board was setting up yet more meetings to address and answer these applicants as soon as possible. Through all these extra meetings and extra hours, our board has never lost sight of our vision, their purpose, and they have not complained, and we're ever so grateful to them. Also on that same page in the gratitude report, you'll see our standing committees. These individuals help us with everything from our investment to our development to our scholarships and evaluating our scholarships, and we could not do our work without them. And if you flip back to the scholarship pages, you'll see we also have volunteers that literally volunteer for us once a year to evaluate only certain specific scholarships. All in all, the foundation probably has somewhere between 75 and 80 volunteers that help us at some time throughout the year, and they're what make our mission possible. So thank you. If you will refer again to the gratitude report you can tell we're so proud of, and just flip over one page, you will see 2019 at a glance. And that, in a nutshell, is our accomplishment of 2019. However, two of those accomplishments I particularly want to point out. One is our Giving Tuesday event. In 2019, the Giving Tuesday annual fundraising event raised over $220,000. Now, from a fundraising perspective, I can't emphasize enough to you how successful that is for the size of this community. From the perspective of impact into the community and market penetration, that would be like every single resident of Crawford County donating $5 towards that Giving Tuesday event. That is unheard of. And the generosity and devotion of Crawford Countyans never ceases to amaze me. So kudos to you. Secondly, if you also look at the glance as well as the financials, you'll see our continued growth. Jim Pry, I hope you're out there. When I was hired on at the foundation in 2014, we were somewhere around 14 million in assets. And way back then, Jim Pry challenged me and the foundation to get to 20 million in total assets by 2020. And we actually hit that mark by the end of 2019. So again, let's give ourselves a pat on the back and another round of applause. And finally, don't leave this gratitude report without taking a look at all the beautiful pictures and factoids inside. We want to especially point out Miss April. Beverly Sipe won this year's photo contest with this photo she submitted of a common gray tree frog that she found in her yard. We can't thank all of you enough for all the pictures you submitted and continue to submit. We learned so much about our county by these photos, and we hope that you continue to send them. It's a lot of fun. On that same page, one last thing to point out. Now that we've celebrated 2019, let's take a look at exactly what is the definition of a community foundation, and it's found right beside the at a glance. Where did this definition come from? Well, that's on there for you to see, but I like to say it came from people who are far smarter than I am. And they say the definition of a community foundation, that you're addressing the community's most critical or persistent challenges, inclusively uniting people, institutions, and resources. And so that's what we've tried to do tonight. You're going to hear from several different segments of our county, and we're going to start with addressing what has been one of our most persistent challenges, that of the COVID-19 pandemic. Obviously, it has affected our physical health, but it's affected our health in other ways as well. However, let's start by taking a look at our physical health of Crawford County. For that, we're turning to Kate Siefert and Dr. Chris Johnson with Crawford County Public Health.
So Dr. Chris, we know what COVID-19 has done to us nationally. Can you talk to us a little bit about what COVID has done to us here in Crawford County and things that we should be thinking about?
Well, Kate, that's a great point. We're really lucky to be in a rural community that we have. We've done really well and been really fortunate with the number of cases that we've had compared to the national numbers. We've been able to stay in the yellow range, which has been great for us. That's because of the great comprehensive approach we've had with mask wearing and social distancing, having good support from the healthcare systems locally, and now with the schools and teachers all being a part of this. We encourage, though, with the success we've had to stay where we are. We need to continue with this because this is not over. I hear every day that this is over. We need to continue this with mass social distancing and even going forward into the cold and flu season to encourage people to get their flu shots so we can prevent the illnesses that we know we can.
Thank you, Dr. Chris. We've talked about COVID-19 and ways that we can right now reduce the risk of the virus, but can you elaborate on some of the other things that we should be doing and continue to do as we enter into winter? What can we further do here in Crawford County to protect ourselves and improve our health?
Certainly. We need to continue to do the same things that we've done from the beginning as far as hand washing, good hygiene, wearing face masks, and keeping our distance from each other. That's the most important thing that was true in the very beginning and is still true now. Interestingly, Kate, some of the recent things are the long-standing symptoms that people have with loss of taste and smell that doesn't return, breathing issues that never goes back to normal, now even some heart inflammation with people who have COVID, including athletes. That's been in the news lately, trying to make sure athletes are okay to return if they had COVID. Those are all things that we'll continue to learn about, but the main thing we can do is continue to be diligent with our social distancing, hand washing, hygiene, and wearing our masks.
Yes, thank you so much for reminding us. Dr. Chris, as you know, every 3 years, the Crawford County Health Partners, which is a collaborative group right here in Crawford County, we get together and we survey both youth and adults here, and then we look at the health status of Crawford County. And every 3 years, we also prioritize what are a couple of the main topics and what are the biggest issues here in Crawford County that we can focus on. So do you have some thoughts about what we should be doing and looking at to improve the overall health of Crawford County that could also help us with COVID-19?
Yeah, I think that's exciting, Kate, to talk about something besides COVID. We've all been focused on that for the last 6 months now. And what are the major health risks or health issues that we face on a routine basis? And still, cardiovascular disease is the number one killer in America. So I think we need to focus on cardiac disease. We need to focus on obesity. That continues to be a problem in the United States and, of course, here locally as well. These are things that have some simple approaches, obviously being active, getting out and about, walking and exercising, having a better diet. I think it's important that every year you see your provider so that you can make sure your numbers, your blood pressure, your cholesterol, things that we can manage to lower your risk of cardiovascular disease. And of course, smoking cessation is a big part of that as well.
Thank you, Dr. Chris. He's always full of good advice. And thank you, everyone in Crawford County, for all that you have done to keep this community healthy. We hope you continue to take care and stay safe. And remember all the things that Dr. Chris told us about. And really, the take home is, during a pandemic, is to take control of the things that you can control, or as like we like to say, control your controllables. So please take care and stay safe. And thank you.
So, if there's one thing that we've learned living in a pandemic, it's to get used to and accept change. You may have noticed Dr. Johnson mentioned that Crawford County was still yellow on the governor's public advisory map of the COVID-R counties. That was filmed just 2 weeks ago, and we were still yellow. And as you probably are aware, now we're orange, and a high orange with an H over us. And similarly, if you'll look at my letter in the gratitude report, I mentioned the fact that there's not going to be any Big Ten football in the fall. Well, guess what? Now there's going to be Big Ten football in the fall. So there is a lot of constant and ongoing change, a lot of information to keep up with. But like Kate just said, just go with what you can control and don't stress about the things that you cannot. So what about our business health? How did that fare during COVID? Well, for that, we turn to our Chamber of Commerce directors, Jessie Furner from the Bucyrus Chamber and Miranda Jones from the Galion-Crestline Chamber.
Crawford County is a resilient business community that has seen an economic upturn in recent years. Many area small businesses are now faced with challenges that they never knew existed pre-pandemic. Some of them are shutdowns and changing guidelines from the state.
One of the greatest challenges our businesses face today is unskilled workforce. The unemployment rate in January of 2020 was 5.8. In July, it had jumped to 9.6. While we have an abundance of jobs that need to be filled, we still lack workers with experience, skills, and adequate childcare.
It has been so refreshing to see our local businesses supporting each other in a myriad of ways, whether it be changing their processes to create much needed PPE, buying only from Crawford County companies, offering free floor decals and signage, all the different ways. It's great to see our community businesses really supporting each other.
To also help overcome some of the hardships, the partnership and the Community Foundation collaborated on a small business loan program, as did the City of Galion. Our chambers worked diligently to make sure that our members and our community members had adequate resources available to them to help understand the CARES Act and the SBA loans.
How can you help? This is your call to action to shop totally local. Whether you realize it or not, your sales tax, gas tax, keeping it in our county makes a huge impact. If you need a plumber or electrician or roofer, make sure that you're using a Crawford County business for these services.
You can also help by staying subscribed. Make sure your membership dues are up to date for any of the organizations that you are a part of. These organizations rely on dues to sustain themselves from day to day. The COVID-19 pandemic will certainly show itself in new community challenges. Now is the time to make sure you're still donating to the causes that you see fit.
So as Jessie and Miranda remind us so happily, it is so important to try to remember to shop and dine and spend money locally. We know it's easy to get in the car and drive to Marion County or Richland County to eat out or shop, and that's fine sometimes too, but we can't let our small businesses right here in Crawford County die. We must, at all times, especially like this, continue to support them as well and their health. So then, what about the mental and spiritual health of Crawford Countyans? To get that update, we turn to Cindy Wallis from Community Counseling Services, and Joe Stafford, a local pastor and mental health counselor.
So when we look at things from a mental health perspective at community counseling, we have continued to remain fully operational. And of course, calls have increased. And what we're seeing is a lot of folks struggling with basic anxiety, depression, that isolation and individuals that are already struggling with having, maybe few supports, that kind of thing. So this has continued to impact our community in a lot of ways in those kind of impacts.
At the church, we're seeing what probably most people are, and that is corona fatigue. We're hearing so many different things from so many different people. There's just a level of frustration that's different than anything I've ever experienced, and I would guess that would be the same case across the faith community. We want to continue to practice our faith, but boy, this has been very, very tiring.
So at community counseling, we've had all of our traditional services that we've continued to offer. Nothing has changed in that respect. We've also added a warm line for the community. So some individuals may not be open clients. They maybe don't necessarily need to become open clients at community counseling, but they just need to call in and talk to somebody kind of briefly over the phone. So we've been working hard to take warm line calls for the community pretty much since March. And then we're also referring out to other natural resources in the community, such as the faith-based community, such as, the YMCA and different outlets where people can utilize those natural resources.
The church is in a precarious situation with this because everything that we've always taught is to be close, to have fellowship and those kinds of things. So staying apart has been very difficult for most of the faith communities that I'm aware of. And we try to offer extra time for people when we can do that for them. Well, most of us are preaching sermons that somehow focus on these concerns and situations. We want to try to give people hope, remind them of their faith and their trust in God.
So one of the things we're very, passionate about is our Crawford County Suicide Prevention Coalition. Joe and I are both members of that team and have been for many years. And through our annual walks that we have, a lot of that money that's raised goes towards a prevention program in Crawford County called Signs of Suicide. We offer that to every school in Crawford County, and we're extremely happy with the results of that. This is a prevention program that works. It's evidence-based best practice. We partner with the schools, and our suicide rates for juveniles over the last 9 years has dropped significantly, and so we're very, very thankful for that. As far as adults in the community, we still have a long way to go. We want to continue to work on getting those resources and that education material out there. So that's the purpose of the Crawford County Suicide Prevention Coalition, and our goal is to have no loss of life through suicide.
The coalition is made up of professionals, but also those who are non-professional. Many of our coalition partners are actually people who have experienced a suicide in their family. And so they see this in an entirely different light than just those who might have studied the program or something of that nature. The Adams Board works with us, as well as community counseling services, the health department, and so it's a very nice mixture of people from Crawford County.
So one of the things that we know is COVID's going to be around a while, from what we're told, maybe another year or so. So it's basically, it's not a race, it's a marathon. So we're learning to live in COVID. And one of the things that we at community counseling think is critically important is continue to wrap around your loved ones, continue to reach out to those natural resources. One of the best free gifts you can give, and I think Joe will attest to this, is that human connection, talking to someone by phone, giving them a shout out, holding their hand. You can still do that by washing your hands. There's still things we can do, even with social distancing in place, because COVID will pass eventually, and there's a lot of hope. So reach out to community counseling, reach out to the other partners in the community, reach out to your church family, which is so critically important. So there's hope at the end of this. COVID will not last forever.
Yeah, Cindy's absolutely right. It's so important for us to make sure that we have connection. If you think about it, solitary confinement is something that they do in prisons to punish those people who haven't behaved appropriately. And so in this COVID time, the suggestion is that we're supposed to stay away from one another. Well, that's completely different than what the human nature is. And so it's important for us not to just get stuck at home watching our religious services on YouTube or on Facebook Live or something like that, but actually coming together and spending time with one another. We're going to get through this, there's no doubt about that. But the faith community can be very, very helpful. And it's interesting how closely aligned the faith community and mental health is. It's all about the person.
So thank you, Cindy and Joe, for a message of hope and reminding us that there is light at the end of the tunnel. And mental health experts will tell you it's okay to find happiness in times of trouble and difficult times. You shouldn't feel guilty. In fact, it's times like this more than ever, we should all try to work on our happiness and our mental and spiritual health. Well, I mentioned earlier that our board, the last couple years, has put in hours like never before. And one of the board members who's been doing that for some time, well, it's time for her term to end on the foundation board. And so here to recognize her and thank her is our current board chairman, Dr. Pete Maynard.
Thanks, Lisa. It's my honor tonight to recognize Jessica Berger for her years of service to the foundation. Jessica served 2 terms, 6 years on the foundation board. During that time, Jessica served on the scholarship committee as well as investigating grants, being an interviewer for the Samuel Neff Scholarship, and most recently was the secretary. Jessica always served with enthusiasm. She has great humor, just a great person to work with. I didn't know Jessica before I got on the board this recent time, and it's been a true pleasure. So Jessica, I want to thank you and accept from us this token of our gratitude for your years of service. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Pete. It's been a great honor to serve on this board. I have been delighted to see firsthand all of the wonderful things that are going on in Crawford County. I do believe that the people on this board have the best interest of Crawford County in their hearts, and it's been a great pleasure. Thank you.
So it's always difficult when a board member's term comes to an end. You get used to seeing them, you miss them. They become an expert at whatever it is they've been helping you at the foundation. But yet, we know it's best practices for nonprofit organizations to have terms and term limits for their board members. And the new ones that come on are full of new skills and new areas of expertise and new passions. It's kind of like the old Girl Scout song, make new friends but keep the old, and that's what we do at the foundation. Several of our former board members are on a development committee now. They help with managing our investments. They attend our events. They're still donors. And so many of our former board members stay involved with us, and for that, we're grateful. A couple of announcements to make this evening. One, Giving Tuesday is coming up. Please mark your calendar and don't forget about us in our annual fundraiser. Always held the first Tuesday after Thanksgiving. This year, that falls on December 1st. Fortunately, since it's already pretty much a virtual event, we've got that covered this year with no changes. However, if you opt to not use the foundation's fundraising website that we offer and you want to just send in a check instead, that's fine. Just please date it December 1st and either mail it or drop it in the secure mailbox that's behind our office on Bucyrus Street, or Mansfield Street in Bucyrus. And if you would this year, also keep in mind that if you have it in your heart to make part of your contribution towards the Crawford Impact Fund, we would so appreciate it. That is the fund we're trying so hard to grow, that we make large grants out into the community to better the community for us all. Second announcement, you may remember when you signed up for this event, you were asked to list the fund at the foundation that was your favorite fund. The reason we asked you to do that is because we're having a drawing tonight of all the funds that were listed. So the more times a fund was listed, the better your chance of being drawn. And what we're going to do with the fund that's drawn tonight is take $500 from our special recognition grant to donate to this fund. So if I may have a drum roll, please. The winning fund of the extra 500 is the Colonel Crawford School Endowment Fund. Applause! Thank you. That was fun. So before we show you this video clip we wanted to share tonight. I wanted to explain to you that I didn't go looking for this video. I didn't Google topics of a video I might show. This video came to me and just fell in my lap one day. Many of you know I used to live and work in Florida. And when I did, Tallahassee, I used to call Tallahassee my home away from home. I didn't live in it, but I worked there so many years and spent so many hotel nights there that it felt like it sometimes. So recently I had the television on in the living room, not paying any attention to it, in another room doing something, and I heard the word Tallahassee. So I went running out to the living room thinking, I haven't even thought about Tallahassee in ages, wonder what's going on there and why they're in the news. And that's when I watched this story, and I found the story to be so heartwarming and so appropriate on so many levels. I hope you like it as much as I did.
Demetrius Murray and Marquise Williams, friends who are like brothers, own Girlie's Lemonade and Sweets, a roadside food truck famous for their fried Oreos.
How do the Oreos taste? Are they good?
Come on.
Oh, come on.
Are they good? Are they good? Is the sky blue, Slim? The people have spoken and the results are in.
Inspired by Marquise's late grandmother, Girlie's recipe book, they started their business last year, first serving roadside lemonade and later adding their cookies.
As we were reminiscing through the recipe book, like, oh man, you remember how good that lemonade was? And we said to each other, like, you know what? Grandma's lemonade may be good enough to actually sell. How about we try to sell the lemonade? And our grandmother made these amazing deep fried Oreos.
Starting a business was tough. Their fried Oreos caught the taste buds of a local food group, Tallahassee Foodies. Love Girlies went viral.
He made a post about it and said, man, it's this cool little stand on the south side here, and they got these deep fried Oreos, and they were amazingly good. Everyone just needs to check it out, which is what the whole purpose of the group is, for recommendations. And people just started coming down and trying it.
Customers lined up for the battered cookies, and the brothers' business became the Tallahassee food obsession. But on a hot day in July,
that sun in the sky got the best of me, and I ended up passing out from heat exhaustion. All right, heat stroke, right?
From dedication.
Right. Passing out from dedication. and it got the best of me.
Customers helped Demetrius get medical help that day, and the community then rallied behind the business, starting a GoFundMe page to help raise money for them to get an air-conditioned trailer.
Thank you so much.
But in many ways, their success is more than just about selling lemonade and fried Oreos.
Our message that we really want to get across is that Oreos matter. That's what it really means to us. The black and the white matters. When you really give each other a chance, when you really sit down with one another, when you really take the time to see what the other party is truly about, you will see the value in each other, right? That's what it means to us. Yeah. And it shows us the power that there is still the goodness in humanity.
With the love of fried Oreos, a community comes together.
Tallahassee Foodies has been a big impact, not only to us, but just the community as well. Like, who would have thought, like, hey, Tallahassee Foodies bringing the community together. They actually created unity.
What do you think your grandmother would think of what you guys have been able to do with her recipes?
I know that she's outstandingly loving right now, and she appreciates what her name is doing. We are going to leave a legacy.
Isn't it wonderful? So with the success of their fried Oreos business, Demetrius and Marquise have also had an impact on kids in the neighborhood. The kids in the neighborhood notice that this is working. So they're creating their own version locally of Shark Tank. They're giving kids who present their business ideas $1,000 to help build a successful business. So it's part of their way of now giving back to the community. I mean, this, I think it's obvious. This transcends Oreos or dessert. I mean, these guys were selling, lemonade stand, or selling lemonade on the corner, on the street corner. And slowly but surely, people from other parts of town are like, you know what, let's help these guys. They're doing something positive.
They're just so charming and so, he's wearing a mask that says Oreos matter, and at first you think it's a joke, and it's not. He's, saying black and white matter, we can come together. Right. I mean, it's just so, it's just
so great. And there are so many cities
lovely.
across this country where there's certain people on this side of town and there are others on that side of town, and they never cross. And something like dessert to bring people together.
By the way, and I believe like you attract what's within you. Those two guys are so full of goodness, and look what's happening in their lives. I have a feeling you're going to be doing another story on them.
I told them I can't wait to get down to Tallahassee. We wish them all the best this morning.
We really do.
So I agree with Demetrius. There is innate goodness in humanity. This community, as we've mentioned earlier tonight, showed we had the ability to overcome virus-induced distractions. We've done many good things. My letter in the gratitude report has a whole paragraph dedicated to just the actions I saw, humane actions people in our community took during this pandemic, during the lockdown, that was so heartwarming to see. On the other hand, we know that we have issues we need to work on in Crawford County that if we worked on would make us a better community, and those issues are going to still be there when this pandemic is over. We know we have a strong letterman jacket mentality. We know we have duplication of services. If we just had some organizations that would start combining their efforts and sharing and saving resources, how much stronger we might be. Someone once said to me when I first moved back to Crawford County, well, 602 is the dividing line. And I thought, only if we let it be. You heard that comment the reporter made at the end of that story, and that's what made me think of Crawford County, was when she said, for a dessert, for an Oreo, to help a business, to better their community, people were coming into parts of town that they didn't usually go to. There's a book that I've been reading lately called Strong Towns. And in it, the author makes the argument that economic vitality and goodness in a community does not come from the national government down or the state government down. It comes from the bottom up, from the grassroots up, from that community living and breathing and making these changes, controlling the things they can control. It takes us back to that definition of a community foundation we were looking at earlier in your gratitude report. So if we do this, uniting people and resources, what will we get but significant, widely shared, and lasting results? And isn't that what we want? We already had some great examples of collaboration going on in these presentations tonight. You heard about the Crawford Health Partners, all the organizations they represent to come together to improve our health. Our businesses that banded together to help each other through the pandemic and the lockdowns. The Suicide Coalition Prevention, to think that they've been able to come together and bring down the youth suicide, that's amazing and reasons to celebrate. But all of these things require one thing that most of us don't like, and that's change. Look at this. So anybody out there going to raise their hand? It's human nature to want change to happen, but you want others to initiate it. But we need to initiate it ourselves. And there already are seeds of change planted in our community if we'll just continue to water and fertilize them. For example, if you go to the Crawford Partnerships website, you'll see their slogan there, be the change, see the change. Similarly, if you go to Community Counseling Services website, what will you see? Change starts with you. And so, my fellow Crawford Countyans, I say to you tonight, if a deep-fried Oreo can make the citizens of Tallahassee come together, unite, associate, meet people they never knew, come together as a community, Crawford County, what's going to be our Oreo? Think about it. Thank you so much. Stay safe and good night.